We're now joined by Ryan Newman. And Ryan, you were out testing a modified there in advance of the race there at Martinsville. How'd the car feel out there on the racetrack this morning?
I felt pretty good. We had a little bit of an engine problem in the first run this morning, got it adjusted and fixed, and then been working on the car and just, getting some laps and some knowledge and practice of things that we haven't done. Like, I've never run a modified at Martinsville, obviously. But secondly, it's been so long since I've practiced anything, just getting back in the routine of things there.
Good deal. We're going to open the floor up for questions. And our first question is going to come from Paul Lambert with NASCAR.com/roots. Go ahead with your question, Paul.
Hey, Ryan, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. In terms of, I know you're such a big modified fan, always up at New Hampshire with the summer races. What makes modified racing at Martinsville so special for you, and how excited are you for the April show?
Really, if you look at the big picture of it, modifieds are just an amazing race car. If you as an engineer had to draw up a car to design to make it go fast, turn left, and accelerate, you'd draw a Whelen modified. So that's the one part of it. So whenever I can fit it into my schedule and it makes sense geographically and time-wise, obviously, I do it. And so this year we plan on doing the Martinsville race, which is obviously I've got a ton of laps at Martinsville. It's close to home and it's Cup weekend, and then plan on doing the Richmond race when we can, and the Loudon race that weekend. So just trying to fit things in when it makes sense. Gary Putnam and Bono Mannion have put together a great modified, as they usually do. And it's just fun racing against these guys. They do it, quote unquote, for a living, right? We're all hobby racers, but they do it for a living. They're the best, and it's fun to come out and race against them.
Our next question will come from Claire B. Lang. Go ahead with the question, Claire.
Thank you. Ryan, what can you take from the modified for any other form of racing, or is this just purely for fun? Is there anything you can gain from this? Do you feel like it lends itself to anything else that you do?
Well, I'm definitely not here to learn things that are going to apply to my cup car or cup team. But I am here to, it's a way to stay sharp, right? I mean, it's just more laps, more experience. We're here, focusing on the Whelen modified, no doubt. But it's like anything else. A guy that flies an F-16 can go back and fly a Piper Cub real easy. At least that's the way I take it. So driving something that goes faster, turns better, and has more acceleration just makes you better when you get to those bigger, slower stock cars.
Yeah. And so where do you think you'll end up in the race? Like, you feel as a modified racer, what is the lure of that? And what, do you have an advantage, I guess, as a professional stock car driver racing the modifieds?
No, I think everybody that races when they come here has a good shot. I mean, obviously, guys with more experience, whether it's in the car or at the racetrack, have a small advantage. But realistically, anybody that shows up, in my opinion, has a shot. And it's so tight here at Martinsville, tight racing. It could be caught up in somebody else's mess real easy, and have the best car, best practice, feel like you're going to win the race and lap the field, and never get that chance. We've seen that at Martinsville, at places like Bristol and things like that. So, just here to have fun and try to get some laps and experience.
Thanks, Ryan. Have fun.
Thank you.
Our next question will come from Bob Pockris. Go ahead with the question, Bob.
Yeah, Ryan, Dale Jr. on his podcast said that Brad Means is going to field a truck for you, that you're going to run a truck next week at Bristol for the dirt race. Can you say what's kind of the lure and how much you hope to learn?
Well, I definitely want to learn for the Cup race and the Cup weekend, no doubt. But we wouldn't go there without the mindset of winning and focusing on that. So really proud to announce that Coca-Cola and Aggressive Hydraulics, both been long-term sponsors of mine, are on board the truck. It is a Ford. The number is 39, so it's kind of a retro throwback for me personally. It's his first go around in ownership, and the dirt race at Bristol has a lot of opportunity, at least in my eyes, and obviously his, to have some experience and start what potentially could be something bigger for him. So I know I've met Brad several years ago when he worked at RCR, kept in contact, and it's our goals aligned, and we have the opportunity with, like I said, Aggressive Hydraulics and Coke to go out there and get some laps and have fun, and the end goal is no different than any other weekend, is to win.
And do you know, like, I know there's no Xfinity race, so is he able to like use his dad's crew from the Xfinity team, or is it just a group of guys that he's kind of brought together?
Yeah, I would say the latter, mostly because there's no necessity of a pit crew. There'll be a group of guys, I'm sure, that meet the criteria for a team, I guess you could say. But I'm sure they're just a group of guys that he's put together, and I think in the grand scheme of things, that's no different than what we're doing here for the modified race. It's a group of guys that have experience in either a garage, a cup garage, Xfinity garage, or a truck garage, and you trust those people and you work hard together, and that's how you build something. And I know Brad's working on building something.
Thank you.
Yep.
Our next question will come from Marty Sakala. Go ahead with the question, Marty.
Thanks, Matt. Ryan, thanks for taking the time. Hope you're doing well. Obviously, you're a driver with dirt experience. Speaking with Daniel Suarez last week, I asked him if this is going to be a race of throttle control on Sunday, and he said that it could be like racing in the rain and a race where drivers wish they had less horsepower. Do you agree with that take?
I guess we're talking about Bristol on the dirt.
Yes.
I think it's going to be situational. There's going to be times where the track's got a lot of grip, and there's going to be times where it slicks off, and there's a chance that it might rubber up. I've seen that in the past at the truck race at Eldora. So not knowing, what the track prep's going to be like, how the track's going to take rubber, our conditions for sunlight and stuff like that contribute to it taking rubber on Sunday, are all factors. So I don't think there's any defined knowledge of what it's going to be like, but I can guarantee you one thing: it's going to go through some significant transitions compared to what we are normally experiencing on pavement.
And looking at Atlanta this weekend, doing my research, it's been nearly 20 years since your legacy of Rocket Man was born in 2003 with the 11 poles you had that season. And it started in Atlanta. I was wondering if you could talk about qualifying back in the day when you were with Penske, especially at Atlanta when you had 6 consecutive poles there.
Yeah, that was me filling in Buddy Baker's seat. I'm tied with Buddy Baker at Atlanta for most polls, and I've been close. I don't know if I get the tiebreaker on seconds, and it doesn't really matter to me. But the reality is, those were some great times. And if it wasn't for Buddy Baker and obviously a great car and great crew and team, I wouldn't have had that success and experiences. But I attribute most of it to the things that Buddy Baker taught me in a rental car driving around a racetrack.
Thanks for your time, Ryan. Good luck to you this weekend.
Thank you.
Next question is going to come from Jordan Bianchi. Go ahead with the question, Jordan.
Hey, Ryan, appreciate your time. Wondering if there's any conversations with Roush Fenway Racing about next year and you returning.
No conversations yet, and I really don't want there to be any conversations yet until we get some performance on the racetrack. Otherwise, we're just having conversation. The reality is I want to perform, they want to perform. The better performance that we have together, the more it makes sense to carry on. And I would say that if no matter what team or organization, in essence, to in reference to continuing a responsibility or job, I guess you could call it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Our next question will come from Mark Garrow. Go ahead with the question, Mark.
Thank you, Ryan. What's it like to drive a modified and drive one at Martinsville?
Well, my lap time, quickest lap time this morning in our session was an 1880. So I guess that's 3/4 of a second, maybe quicker than at least a half second quicker than the cup pole. And we're not even in qualifying trim with a modified. And where it was basically our third run of the racetrack on tires. So my point is, it's faster. Every aspect of a Whelen modified makes it go faster. And the end result is it doesn't necessarily go faster at the end of the straightaway. It goes faster in lap time, and that's what matters. But it's lower center of gravity, offset to the left, bigger, fatter, wider tires that have more gumminess to them, I guess you could say, and just that makes it a whole lot of fun to hustle the car around. And the tires fall off a little bit more. At least I think that they will, because of their gumminess, and we won't see that until we get a whole bunch of cars out on the racetrack in race conditions.
You're kind of a student of the game. What do you think of the start of the NASCAR Cup Series season, the different winners, the different things that have happened? What's your overall view of the start to the year?
I don't know that you could say it's what you expected or what you didn't expect. I think it's in the grand scheme of things, that's why we come and do what we do when there's, 36 to 40 cars on the racetrack, whatever that number is on a given week. And the parity that we have with all the cars, it's not out of the question to have some first time winners and whatever the number is and however many races. We want to be that guy, right? I mean, everybody does, but I don't think that it's anything really atypical. Maybe different from last year, yes, but that doesn't mean it's different from the way it's been ever. So it's just racing, and it'll continue to be. And we might not see another winner for the next 5 races. Could be repeat winners from here on out for 5 races. You just never know, and we'll see.
Thank you.
Yep.
Our next question will come from Michael Shelton. Go ahead with the question, Michael.
Thank you. Well, Ryan, it's been an interesting year thus far for Roush Fenway Racing. Your team recently became the first carbon neutral team in NASCAR. And then according to the Boston Globe, LeBron James has been added as a partner of the Fenway Sports Group, which of course has Roush Fenway Racing as one of its subsidiaries. Obviously, it was one thing when Michael Jordan got involved in NASCAR, but how do you feel now about LeBron James technically now being a part owner of your racing team, and would you welcome his presence and more of his input at NASCAR Cup races in the future?
Well, I just read about it myself yesterday. I had no clue, what was happening or why it was happening or how it affects our team on the Roush Fenway Cup side. But obviously, from a global perspective, it does have an influence. So yes, as a teammate, we want to include and be a part of everybody that's invested in our program, that's on the racetrack and off the racetrack. So I'm not sure what advice he would have, because I don't know what advice I would have about dunking a basketball or shooting a free throw. But the grand scheme of things, we're somehow related in business, and that's new to me. And I'm sure it's new to him, and we haven't had any kind of conversation. So I don't know what would be the next step.
Thank you.
Yep.
Our next question will come from Eric Smith. Go ahead with your question, Eric.
Yeah, Ryan, you mentioned kind of performance and qualifying, and Eric Almirola was saying yesterday about without the qualifying anymore, if you have a bad result the previous week, it's kind of hard to turn momentum around because pit stall selection, you're starting more mid-pack. Have you felt that way for your team? It's kind of harder to turn this momentum around if you can't get a good finish the week before?
Yeah, there's no doubt that the qualifying procedure, in other words, the starting procedure, is a big hindrance if you have a bad last week or are mired back after a couple bad races and points. So that system, it is what it is, and everybody's got an opportunity. But I'd much rather personally prefer if it was a random draw. You got a random draw for a starting position, because in the grand scheme of things, that's what I think it really should be. But if again, it is what it is. We haven't done a good enough job. We need to continue to do a better job and move up. When we had a good finish at Homestead, we didn't make the best of it the following week, and that's on us. So we've got to sharpen up our pencils with respect to making our cars better, so that we can capitalize on the starting procedure. But yes, it is no fun when you have a bad weekend and you have to start in the back, depending especially on certain racetracks where it is a challenge more so to pass, and you're sometimes counting on your pit crew to pass more cars than what you're able to do on the racetrack.
And that was a kind of quick follow-up too. You mentioned yesterday it's harder on strategy now to maybe go off sequence, because there's a lot of smart engineers these days, and a lot of times if that sequence is working, they're going to go in that sequence too, and you got to have a fast race car to overcome it. Have you noticed that too? Kind of a different trend these last few years doing that?
Different trend compared to, for what? I mean,
like strategy, like it used to be like Atlanta, for example, you can go off strategy, and have you noticed that maybe not be an option anymore?
It's still an option, but it's not the option that it used to be, mostly because of the stage racing and the way that it's broke up. And, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out when your tires are falling off, 3 or 4 seconds over a run, that you're going to split it up. And, it's monkey see, monkey do at times. When the first guy comes in, the next guy's ready. Everybody's ready when you're 3 or 4 seconds slower compared to how you fired off to put new tires on. And, yeah, there's different aspects of it. I mean, because of the stage racing, we see many fewer opportunities to have a fuel mileage race. that's good and bad in my opinion. It leads to some drama and some different strategy and situations. But again, it is what it is. The decisions have been made to be the program that we take and the entertainment package that we take to the racetrack, and we got to make the best of it as a team.
Thanks, Ryan. Good luck this weekend, man.
Thank you.
Our final question will come from Ashley McCubbin. Go ahead with the question, Ashley.
Ryan, thank you for your time today. We've seen 5 different winners in 5 races so far. Do you see that as a trend continuing through the rest of the season?
Well, I hope so, and I definitely want to be one of those guys up until the point that we win, and I don't want anybody else to win. But that's not my decision. That's just what sounds good to me, and I think that from what I've seen, the guys that have won have deserved to win. Nobody's had one land in their lap. So everybody, I think. I don't think that it was expected based off the season that we had last year, but with the I guess call it the Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin show of big number winners, race winners. But that was last year. This is this year, and who knows what next year is going to be like. So just keep watching.
The other part of that is you talked about wanting to improve, get the performance better. What do you feel that Roush Fenway needs to improve their program?
Say that. What do I feel like?
Where do you feel you guys need to improve your program moving forward?
Well, I feel like we've made some pretty big gains for us on the 550 package. I think our 750 package needs a lot of work based off of what I experienced in Phoenix, and then a little bit of a combination of the road courses. So what I was fighting with my race car in Phoenix is very similar to what I was fighting with it at the road course in Daytona. So as well as some races last year. So I think that is one of the things, especially based off of our schedule, the number of road courses and the number of 750 low downforce package races that we have, that we need to put a lot of emphasis on that.
Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Ryan, thank you for joining us, and good luck this week at Atlanta Motor Speedway.